This time I want to invite Tim up. It's time for our tribe talk. So if you're new here at church, this is something we started doing. So today you kind of get the whistle-stop tour of our tribe and learning a bit. So Tim is one of our ushers. He's one of our deacons. He's been around the church for a while, and basically, as we've been reading together through Scripture this year, we made a conscious effort that we don't just want to read through the Bible, we want to do it together. We want to learn and we want to share what we're learning with one another, because we believe that that's how Scripture was intended to be read. So something we started doing about a month ago actually, was giving a member of our tribe just an opportunity to share what God's put on their heart from what we've been reading. So Tim knows the drill. He's going to have 3 minutes to try and get everything off his chest. But Tim is long-winded occasionally. So, Tim, are you ready? All right.
Good morning, everyone. I wanted to just kind of share a couple of, call them themes, things that I've kind of picked up on since we started the Bible Project. And really, the themes that we're talking about run throughout the entire length of Scripture. The first thing I wanted to mention is just what always strikes me is how God continues to use really flawed and messed up people to build his kingdom, okay? So we're reading the end of Numbers and we're into Deuteronomy, and I look back through all the people that he used to really build his kingdom, right? So you've got first Abraham, who, although he was a strong believer in God, he made some mistakes, 2 times. He went into a city that God called him to, and 2 times, because of fear for his own life, he said that his wife wasn't his wife. Well, he also then didn't believe that God would provide him with a son. And so he had a son with someone else, which always ends well. That brings us to Isaac, who really committed all of the same sins that his father did. And then that brings us to Jacob, who was kind of a shyster, right? He manipulates his brother to get his birthright, and then he goes out and tricks his father into getting that blessing. And then we have Moses, which is just a classic example of the murderer turned redeemed by the Lord to lead his people through what can only be described as the worst road trip ever, 40 years into the desert, okay? God uses flawed people, and we are all flawed people. Now, I've actually heard Christians say this to me. They've said, I don't go to church anymore because of the hypocrisy that's in the church. That doesn't make any sense. Okay? That would be like Zahar not going to the gym because there are people there who are out of shape. Well, look, I've got a minute left. I wanted to say something else, though, is one of the things that really has struck me was, we've in our readings, we are now at the point where the Israelites are on the cusp of going into the Promised Land. And I can't just kind of help but think about all the time that has passed since that initial promise was made, okay? From the time of the Exodus, okay, to where they were was 40 years. Abraham was born 500 years prior to that, okay? And what's interesting is the Israelites are standing, they're basically looking into the Promised Land. They don't know what's going to happen. Yet at the end of every one of our readings so far in the Bible Project, we jump forward and we read out of the book of Psalms, most of which was written by King David. King David's reign started 400 years after the Exodus occurred. So we're talking about a 900-year span, a 900-year span.
We were talking about a 900-year span, but we're not anymore, are we, Tim? I just love when people get cut off. It's great. Go up. I want to go up and find Tim after service and hear the rest of his thought. And that's one of the reasons why we cut people off, because we're really encouraged that it's not just from up here that we want to be talking about what's happening in Scripture and what we're reading together, but also as we go from this place to continue the conversation.